What's going on, fishy friends? We are on the second stop of our three-stop fishing report journey for this Thursday evening. We started out in the upper Chesapeake Bay. We're now going to head down to South Carolina before finishing the night on Florida East Coast Central. Really quick, before we bring in the man of the hour, Mr. Chris Tweedy, I want to let everyone know that we have you're watching the Fishing Channel, and we have the Fishing Channel Plus, which is a great entry level point of $5 a month to support this content and allow us to continue to grow it and bring you a lot more amazing content that you've grown to love. It's $5 a month, and the way to subscribe is to go to our YouTube page on either an Android phone or a computer and click join, not subscribe. You should have already done that. Click join. It's $5 a month. If you're on an iOS device, which is an iPhone or an iPad, you can completely access all the content. It's just as of now, you can't join using it. Don't ask me why. So please check that out. We really appreciate it. It's a great way to support us. And there's a bunch of additional content waiting for you if you do. But without further ado, let's bring in the man of the hour. Let's see if I can say it correctly this time. We've only been doing this report for almost a year.
Right.
Mr. Oh my God, I messed it up again. Mr. Chris Tweedy of Topwater Kayak Charters. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you? It's been a wonderful start to spring.
I can't tell you how much my mood is dependent. It's almost sad. My mood, I'm a Georgia boy, so my mood is dependent on warm weather. I just hate the winter. It's why you've seen me several times in February and March, because I got to get out of here and get down there to South Carolina where you guys have some warm air. How are you?
Not bad. And I'm always telling you guys to come a little bit later in the year, and that time of year is like we're here now. It's here.
And the reason why we don't is because our fishing starts to light on fire up here.
Fair enough.
But you know what? One of these days, I'm definitely going to do it. But let's jump right into the 2-minute bite. For those of you who don't know, the 2-minute bite is kind of like the ADD fishing report. For those of us with ADHD that don't have the attention span to watch the whole show, which is pretty much everyone nowadays. The 2-minute bite is just a quick synopsis of the fish that's biting the most right now, the bait that's being used to catch it, and the technique. So let's jump into that real quick.
All right. So right now we're really kind of in the middle of everything. It's springtime here. So we're going to lean on both bait and artificials. I have a great story coming up about how I had the two guys from the Realm of Fear who've been giving us prizes every month to give away, came down and tried saltwater fishing with their baits for the first time. And they both, the two guys that came out with me, both wound up catching their first redfish on their own baits that they made. And then the other side of the spectrum, I had an awesome trip today with two ladies from Minnesota. And we were catching basically every color fish you can think of. We started off with the bluefish, we had redfish, we had black drum, we even caught some blue crab along the way. So yeah, that's Kimberly. She was on a trip today. I don't know where that came from. That's not me.
That's someone else's.
That's Wendy. That was our big fish today. So today we were using jig heads and fish finder style rigs with pieces of shrimp as bait. The menhaden / pogey / whatever you want to call them in your neck of the woods, wherever that is, are starting to kind of move in and become like the hot bite for the moment. So right now, if you can get mullet shrimp or menhaden in front of a fish, it's probably going to bite. You'll narrow your catch down to some of the drum and sheep's head type stuff, more so just using shrimp, but some of the minnow type profiles will catch you anything from trout, flounder, redfish. The sharks are starting to show up a little bit. I'm expecting to start to get into those in the next week or so. So it's really go time, and the fish are all over the spectrum. Like we caught fish that were mostly in the slot today, and then that big fish that we just showed was the big fish of the day. She caught that. It was like 27.5 or so. So the big fish are moving back inshore. Everything's starting to kind of come together.
I wanted to. I put the pictures of the Realm of Fear guys in earlier, but for some reason, they didn't upload. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get that going here in a second. I might not be able to, unfortunately. Oh, here it is. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds.
So the best news is that the fishing's really starting to pick up, and it's really only going to get better over the next 2 months while the water continues to heat up, and we'll start transitioning through different baits that are effective and start in saltwater moving more away from artificial presentations to cut bait and live bait for trying to target those bigger fish. And then some of the sportier action with stuff like the sharks and things like that. And then we'll creep back into like flounder and inshore stuff like once the heat of the summer comes.
Yeah, I remember kind of when we started this fishing report last year, it was, it was in the thick of the summer, and the sharks were really happening down there for you.
So that's really just something that like a lot of like your teenage kids want to like get the hero shots with catching a shark, show off to their friends, and think back to like show off the first day of school or at football practice or whatever they're doing. So there's sort of like the alpha male kind of like mentality approach to that. And it's fun and manageable. We do fun. It's some fun stuff. I'm more pumped about finding the bull red bite over the next month or so. So I'm hoping that next month when we chat, I got some really nice pictures of like upper 30 to like 40-inch plus fish to show off.
Those are always good. I got the Realm of Fear pictures in. Let's spend just a second because they are sponsoring this show tonight and have provided the prize.
But yeah, so actually,
let me talk about the pictures first so we can put a face behind it.
Yeah. All right. So I went out in the Wando about 2 weeks ago. There was a really big kayak fishing tournament on the Santee River by me. So a bunch of freshwater anglers were in town, like all the sponsored anglers from like Hobie and stuff like that. So Steve and Chuck came down, who are the guys with the Realm of Fear, and we went to the Wando River to a pretty popular kayak spot and head out and work the dock line on the outgoing tide, exclusively using the baits that they make, and which I'm actually going to give away to the question of the night tonight. So both of those guys managed to catch their first redfish in saltwater out with me using baits that they made. So that's pretty awesome. I can't even come close to that kind of level.
Well, tell us a little bit about them and about the Realm of Fear baits.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry if I missed the boat on that. All right. So they're based out of like the Charlotte, North Carolina area. I've been working with them since the turn of the year about, there are a couple of guys that went to the next level with sort of making baits in their garage. Like during COVID, a lot of folks got into that hobby and sort of spun out of that. So he had friends that he kept giving baits to, and it just kind of grew from there to get a little bit of starting to get a regional following like throughout the Charlotte area. So I wanted to use them as sort of an example in partnering with them to show folks that so much of like what we use for other species, whether it's salt or freshwater, can be translated into success as long as you kind of keep some of the fundamentals in mind. So it was mission accomplished. It worked exactly the way it was supposed to. I took these guys who had never fished for reds, used their bass baits. We use like a curly tail grub, which I've been talking about. There you go. Talking about for a while now. And I love the action on it. So we used that, came tight on one of the reds with that. I think that was the one that Chuck had, who was the first picture, the one that's like really up close to the like kind of coppery red. And then Steve's, yep, there you go. So we were basically fishing along a dock line there, and I had been working the docks with the bait, trying to kind of narrow the window down a little bit. And I was like, you know what? If we throw one over there, let's see what happens. And as soon as it hit the water, he came tight on it. It was awesome. And then those
are two nice slot reds.
Yep. Yeah, they were. Yeah. Well, think the first one Chuck got was like in the, like just right at the top of the slot, which for us is like only 23 inches. But, and then I think Steve's was like a 25 or so, but his was like more of like a ripple minnow type paddle tail. So we were using different profiles. So I really wanted to just kind of show we can do all the same things. It's just what we're after is what changes more than anything.
Nice. Well, let's look at what the generous prize that these gentlemen are offering us tonight.
So I'm going to give away a pack each of the baits that they use to catch their redfish. Hopefully it can inspire somebody to go try something different and land a different species they might expect, or even just get their hands on some cool baits that they'll maybe think about ordering in the future. And I'm also going to give the winner a choice of the hat, a Richardson trucker style hat, or an extra large size Round with Fear shirt, just like the one I have on here. So whoever we get later on, pick this question tonight, we'll get that package in the mail in the next week or so.
Nice. Well, tell us. So we talked about some of the fish that are going on. Tell us about something else that's going on in your area right now. So most of the reds are sort of slot size, as you.
So we've had a really cool influx over the last few weeks. Like, I don't know if it's around the full moon or what, but like I'm finding a ton of black drum in spots that I usually find a bunch of redfish. And you saw, I don't know if folks noticed the cover picture for this week's show. That's one of the bigger black drum I found lately. It's been slow. I'm not one of those anglers that could go out and pound the black drum. So it's been really kind of fun to have,
did you
have charters catch a bunch of them. What's that?
Did you eat that one? That looked like a perfect eater.
No. So I have a hard time keeping fish from my charter spots for myself. So no, that one went back in. It was a good eater size.
Oh man, I saw that thing. Rarely do I see a live fish and my salivary glands go crazy. I saw that picture and I was like, whoa, that looks delicious, man. That, like, a good smaller size black drum. That and the sheep's head might be the best eaten fish in the water.
So I've been capitalizing on that bite, and like most of this week leading up to today had been a lot more black drum, and then today it was like half and half. The ladies on the trip today had like 25 fish or so, and it was pretty solid split between the drum and the reds. So that's what I'm kind of going to expect over the next month or so. It's just waves of sort of fish coming back from offshore or from further out and like on the edge of the ocean and moving back into the inshore. So it's an exciting time of year. I'm pumped. Today went great. I had an awesome charter. This whole week's been great. This is like our spring break window. So the week before Easter and the week after Easter, we tend to start really picking up on the number of trips and stuff. So
that's good stuff. So let's talk about you. To be take a moment to be selfish and talk about Chris Tweedy. Let's talk about Topwater Kayak Charters.
Okay.
How you got started. What people can expect. What kind of is your specialty, that kind of thing.
Okay. So this is my 4th season full-time at Topwater Charters. I started it sort of as like right on the edge of COVID. Like I launched the charter about a week before COVID hit nationwide in terms of everything going down and shutdowns and stuff like that. So I got into that mostly through volunteering for organizations like Heroes on the Water and becoming like more and more confident as a guide that way. And then starting to have folks like asking to be paired up with me and stuff like that. So it kind of got me thinking at a point when the tackle shop I was running was getting ready to close in like 2019. Like, what was I going to do next? So I kind of decided I wanted to kind of go into work for myself and give it a shot. So over the last few years, it's really grown. And what I try to do is more of like a customized charter. I don't try to be like a tourist charter where you and like 6 of your new best friends show up at like the ramp and nobody's met anybody before then. And then nobody really has a clue except it's not what you want. So I'm a little bit more expensive, but a little bit more worth it in terms of like, I want to work directly with like 1-2 people at the most. And then I'll bring in like an additional guide. And like, I want to know what you want to do as much as what I can tell you about what to expect. So it's typically like an angler's charter, if you could classify it as that, but I'll drift around based on what the market. So
Yeah, and to pat you on the back a little bit, having fished with you a few times, what I'll say is I think you've got a really good knack at gauging where someone is in terms of their ability. I'm not going to use any names, but when we fished together, you had an idea of who needed help and who didn't as much. And I was really impressed because that was the first time we fished together, and you picked up on that really quickly, and I thought that was really cool. And you're absolutely right. You do provide a very much of a one-on-one or one-on-two feeling to your charters and provide a lot of attention. So that's really awesome. We do have a question coming in from
Sure.
Kimberly A. And Kimberly A, I believe you're brand new. Haven't watched this before, so welcome. We really appreciate you watching. And she says her first question, this is like a rookie of the year type question. It's a good one for your very first one. And Chris, you know what? Before we get to this, I've thought of, we have our normal question askers like Rodney and Carl and those guys. I thought it would be fun maybe one year to like keep track of who wins question of the night the most, and then having like almost like a league, and provide the winner with something like extravagant, like a date with Crazy Horse or something. Um, what effect does the moon phase have on the redfish bite?
It's huge, and a lot of it has more to do with the weather. I think, at least where I am in terms of the moon phase. So I would expect like the week after the full moon to be an absolute nightmare. Like the moon phase is going to bring like a northeast wind with it, and it's going to blow up anybody's ideas of flats fishing. That's going to muck the water all up. It's going to screw up the sensitivity, and it's going to wreck the bite. What I want, like on today's trip, I mentioned to the folks that I really liked the fact that the moon was directly overhead while we were out there. So I think that it's almost like crepuscular, almost with like the deer, and there's like that like sort of like lunar like ebb and flow. And I absolutely think that the moon and sun have a huge impact on it. I mean, it affects our tides dramatically here, and it's going to affect bait movement. So bigger moons are going to bring like a bigger tide. So a new moon and a full moon are going to mean more movement throughout the marsh of the bait and stuff like that. So it affects how far the fish have to retreat as the water depth changes for me, because it could be a difference between like a 3-foot change and like a 2-foot drop. Like it could be 3 or 4 feet difference from like a like quarter moon to like a full or new moon. So yeah, it absolutely affects everything. It affects the bait, it affects the fish, it affects the bite, it affects the water.
You do kayak fishing the way I think it should be done. You don't have a bunch of fish finders and a bunch of electronics, which I mean, I've done it, but having gone through the entire evolution of it, now I can't understand why anyone would ever want to do that. Like it takes all the tangible awesomeness out of being on a kayak. If you want all that electronic stuff, get a boat. That's just me. But the reason why I say that is that you don't have a constant uh, monitoring of the water temperature. But is water temperature a big issue down there this time of year as we're seeing huge water changes?
Not at all. And here's the thing: when you're in a kayak and you look at the water temperature, what am I going to do about it? I'm there. I'm fishing. Like I can't change it. It's one more thing to create doubt in my mind that I don't need. And it's not a variable I have any control over. So I can't pick up and run 5 miles, get closer to the ocean to find cooler water. I maybe could find warmer water, but like that's generally not the best idea unless it's the middle of winter. So I make it not a variable because I refuse to acknowledge it. So there's, I'm sure, a trade-off there, but like I
Yeah,
don't, in the grand scheme of things, like in a kayak, I can't really do much about it.
I'll say this, and I think I said it to you before on this show, is that I am almost positive I was a better angler when I was solely a kayak fisherman than I am now as mostly a boat angler. I think I did my homework better. I think I dissected water better. I think I was more patient. You know, a lot of things that you get on a boat that can get 40 miles an hour, and I feel like you're always looking over the horizon to the next spot and not as dialed and focused on the place where you are. And, I set goals for myself every now and then. And one of those upcoming goals that I haven't set yet is to dive headfirst back into kayak fishing, because I think it made me a better angler.
Yeah, it works for me. I shoot down folks that'll ask me to like go out in a boat and stuff because I just don't feel like I can deliver the same level of like experience as I do in a kayak. Like I feel I'm out of touch with it. So
Yeah,
I feel like I'm watching it more. But I mean, I had a fish finder for years and stuff like that. And it's more of like getting familiarity with the spots and knowing like what the depth is naturally. And then sort of, but that comes with, you have to gain the understanding of why things are changing and how they're changing and what's driving that in order to get to like, to have that epiphany where it all kind of makes sense.
Well, Kimberly is in the lead by herself with the question of the night, but we do have like 2 more minutes. If somebody wants to get, can we see that package again? That prize package is pretty awesome.
They're all there like looking up better questions than that, and they're trying to figure out if they were trying.
Can you show me the prize pack one more time?
Sure. So I have the winner's choice of a Realm of Fear T-shirt or Richardson hat. And
guys, you don't get both. You get
and then I've got a pack of 3-inch paddle tail baits that are a really nice color that I think these guys sent me just because I mentioned a few colors I like. So these are colors I love. It's like a smoky silver on the curly tail grub, and then like a translucent kind of gold, like sort of like
that translucent color, man, with flecks and stuff in it. That is just deadly. That's just, I mean, it just works everywhere on everything.
So that'll be on the doorstep of somebody in the next like 10 days or so. So I'm okay. Kimberly, that was like a really like walleye fisherman kind of question though.
Yeah, she brought, I'm telling you, that was rookie of the year quality stuff. First question, usually people are like, why do you like fishing, as their first question?
I'll tell you what, our audience is a little more sophisticated than that. We usually actually tend to get the first question of the night is like the first question posed usually. So I'm not surprised.
Wait. Oh, there is somebody did get a question in. Darn it, man, because this is a family show. Says, what's your go-to for flounder?
If I'm using bait, I'm usually going to want to fish like a bottom style rig, like a Carolina rig, like a knocker rig, with like a flounder on a leader that's going to hold it near the bottom to kind of cover water fast. If I'm fishing in artificials, I actually like a bigger profile bait for them. A lot of folks tend to kind of throw like the DOA shrimps and stuff like that. I like something that's more going to cover the bottom a little better. So like a Texas eye style like jig head where it's like it's offset from the hook and it's got some wiggle to it, and then maybe like a 4 or 5 inch bait absolutely with some scent on it. And I'm going to beat up the banks on the outgoing incoming tide along the outside of like the Intracoastal Waterway and stuff like that, and that stretch from where the dock line is up to where the grass line is around me. They're going to be on that like flat sort of plateau until the water gets too high and they can go up on the next level of the shelf. So typically for me, I'm minnow for live bait and like a big kind of thumpy paddle tail in like the 3 or 4 inch or better, or like 4 or 5 inch range.
All right. Darn It Man has one more question. Darn It Man 1969 says, do you fly fish?
Only in my heart. My shoulder won't let me do it anymore. I'm good for like 5 casts. And I kind of gave up on trying to take folks out on fly charters because it's a heartbreaker to lead people to fish and then like it all falls apart and they're in technical deficiency. So I kind of strayed away from that. I'm actually going to probably move my fly rod at some point soon because it's just I need to focus on the work and not on the fly fishing. But I used to do it a bunch. I don't so much anymore. Yeah,
our guy that does the Upper Chesapeake fishing report, Tom Weaver, he was actually just right before this. He does he does fly fishing charter trips, but he doesn't he says right off the top, he's not going to teach someone how to fly fish. They need to come with like proficiency already.
And
Because,
the sad part for me is that
yeah,
the disappointing part is that most people approach me as like a discount on a fly charter as opposed to going with like an actual technical fly guide. So they're better served like going with the specialty and not trying to figure out. It's better for both of us not to do it that way.
Right. So. Well, we did end up with 3 questions, 2 from Darn It Man 1969 and 1 from Kimberly A. We got a winner.
All right, so I got to go with Kimberly, and we'll get Darn It Man in next time.
All right, Darn It Man. Sorry, brother, but Kimberly did ask a great question. And it seems like new people to the channel, it's not intentional, but they tend to get a little preferential treatment from the correspondence. So I don't know if you intentionally did that.
Story of my life is being used for my knowledge.
Right.
So if you do me a favor, throw my number back up, and if she can text me what her choice would be between a shirt and a hat, and I'll get an address from her. We'll get that prize out to her in the next few days. Yeah,
actually, Kimberly, if you're watching, I'm going to put up our email just so you can have it. Normally, we have guests send their address to our email, but in this case, you're going to have it, but I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think the best way to do it is to text Chris directly at 843-906-7112. He'll explain to his wife why Kimberly's texting him.
She don't need to pay attention to the phone going on anymore. Our 10th anniversary is next week, so
congratulations, brother.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So,
10 years.
I tell my wife, and I got to be careful I word this because I mix it up with the jokes she makes about me. But this is like the fastest half hour on the internet for me. Like it's like every month, it's like done in no time.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like I feel like we talked for 5 minutes, and I look down and I feel like we only have 3 minutes left, and I'm like, how did that happen? It's so fast. But Kimberly, congratulations! Welcome to the channel.
Come on out sometime.
Yeah, book a trip with Chris. It will be money well spent. You'll learn so much. It'll be worth its value 10 times over.
Yeah.
What's that?
Really, like the next 6 weeks to 8 weeks, it's go time here. So if you've never been thinking about coming down for a trip, like even if it's not with me to Charleston, like the South Carolina coast, and then from now until about the middle to late June is going to be pretty much on fire with everything from like bull reds to sharks to tarpon to cobia.
And guys, you need nothing. He's got a fleet of Hobie kayaks. He's got 2, right? 2 Hobies.
I have up like 5 or 6 at this point, but
okay.
Yeah.
So all Hobie kayaks. He's got all the fishing gear, all the tackle. Yep. You need to bring your body water, right? They need to bring water.
You can bring as much of your own stuff as you want to. I'm gonna basically want to work with people at whatever level they want to be met at. So if there may be a quick U-turn on that once your head's a little bit more advanced than your body, but we have ways to fix that along the way.
Nice. Well, we got to jump down to South Florida, actually Central Florida, East Coast. Guys, jump on that feed. We got Captain Jamie Thropas. Chris, it's been a pleasure, man. I always love doing this report. And we'll see everyone in a few minutes, Chris, and I'll see you next month.
Thanks, Rand.
Take care.